Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Winchester SXP Extreme Defender. But before we get into the video, if you don't know, Gun Deals is a website that provides you with links to some of the best prices and products within the industry. So if saving money on cool stuff is of interest to you, go ahead and check them out. Once again, that is gun.deals. They don't buy or sell anything. They don't take your money. They only point you in the right direction. So with all that out of the way, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, as all that sort of stuff is free and does help us out quite a bit. On top of that, go ahead and comment literally anything down below. Now, with that out of the way, full disclosure on the Winchester SXP Extreme Defender is that we paid our own money for this. We have no affiliation with Winchester specifically for this review. I picked this up at my local gun store, East County Guns in Centralia, Washington. I think I paid $490 for it, which for a pump shotgun with a lot of additional features, which we'll talk about in just a minute, is not that bad of a deal. So let's go ahead and get rid of some of the specifics about the Winchester SXP. Starting out, we have a 18-inch barrel, which is as short as you can go. This is definitely more of a self-defense, home defense style shotgun than like a hunting shotgun. Of course, you can use it for hunting, but a longer 24, 26, 28-inch barrel is probably going to be a little bit more preferable for hunting in general. But 18 inches, 18 and a half inches, I think specifically, perfect for home defense, self-defense, that sort of thing. It's still definitely a long gun, but for a shotgun, specifically a pump shotgun with a stock, it is not too long. Now, getting into specifics on the barrel itself, the material I believe is a 4150 chrome moly steel, which is a very high quality, very tough steel. On top of that, the chamber and bore is very nicely hard chrome plated, which is going to make it very heat resistant, very lubricious, all very corrosion resistant, very, very good. Chrome lining on basically any gun is an incredibly high quality coating, and we do like to see it, especially with shotguns. They do like to build up a lot of gunk on the inside of their barrels. Now, from the factory, the Extreme Defender model does come with this standoff device, breeching device, muzzle brake, whatever you want to call it. It's not a true muzzle brake, though I do believe it does some recoil reduction, though it still does have a good amount of recoil. It's not like a true muzzle brake. Honestly, I would have preferred a muzzle brake on a pump action shotgun. That doesn't really affect with the cycling of the gun. I think that would have been really cool, but again, a breeching or standoff device is still quite useful in certain applications. You can also, of course, remove the choke if you wanted to do something else. I believe it comes standard with a cylinder bore, so of course you can kind of put in whatever other Winchester chokes that you want to. Now, the tube itself, this one here is an extended tube. I have a +3 extension, which we'll get into later. Standard, it comes with a 5 shell capacity for 2 3/4 inch shells. And then, of course, if you go 3-inch, you only get 4. So this is either a 4+1 or a 5+1, depending on, again, your ammunition choice. As you see it right now, depending on the shell, you can actually get 9 in the tube, +1 in the chamber, which for, again, a pump action shotgun is a very good capacity, which of course means you're doing less reloading and more shooting, and then after you're done shooting, you got to do a lot more reloading and then a lot more shooting. So very fun. Now, the slide itself is fine. It's kind of this large piece of just kind of this kind of cheap feeling plastic, honestly. It is ribbed a little bit, which does help with grip. However, personally, I think I might actually just cover this whole thing in like skateboard tape just to give it even more grip on top of that. It doesn't feel all that great in the hand, and if you're using gloves, even though it is ribbed, you can still kind of slide off a little bit, especially when it gets wet outside. So it's okay. It's nothing special. It has a little bit of wobble to it. It is attached to 2 steel guide rods on either side, which is quite nice. I haven't really had any issues with it, other than to say it's not quite as nice feeling as some other slides on the market. Now, moving back to the bolt itself, I really couldn't find any specifics on the material choices, other than to say it looks and feels exactly like every other shotgun bolt on the market. You have a very large bolt face, a single extractor on the right side, and a fixed extractor on the inside, or sorry, a fixed ejector on the inside. So as you're obviously pulling it back, and then it hits that fixed ejector and then shoots the shell off into oblivion, depending on how hard you're racking the gun. Standard shell elevator on the bottom, or a shell elevator on the bottom. It is fairly easy to load. It's not quite as restrictive as certain other shotguns are on the market. Now, if you really wanted to, you could totally take a Dremel or some other tool and really open up the loading port on the bottom if you just wanted really fast, really smooth loadings. For me personally, who's not all that familiar with shotguns, and I don't have all that much time or experience with them, it was fairly easy to load. Really didn't have too many issues getting it back into battery. Personally, if you had questions about it, I am using the STAC shotgun cards. I believe I bought 3 or 4 of these from STAC. They're actually just up the road from me, and they work really well. So I have them Velcroed onto the side of the receiver, so when I use one, I can just grab another one off my plate carrier and slap it on. Now, when it comes to the ergonomics and controls of the shotgun, they're actually fairly well done. So you do, of course, have a pistol grip, which is kind of like the tactical thing to have on your shotgun. I'm perfectly fine with like a standard grip or a pistol grip on a shotgun. Either one works just fine for me, although again, because I do shoot mostly AR platforms, this is the most normal feeling thing to me. However, one downside of this is that you do, of course, have a crossbolt safety right here, so you need to sweep that on to go to fire. However, to put it back to safe, you either have to really break your grip and flip it from the other side, or bring your other hand, your support hand, in to put it back into safe. Not really a big deal for most people. However, if you're doing a bunch of drills, have this on a sling, and you're doing a bunch of other stuff, it can be a little bit obnoxious to constantly actuate the safety that way, versus if you had a normal grip and just a safety up top, you could just very easily actuate it with your thumb. Now, a couple of very nice things about this shotgun is that it has not only adjustable comb, but also adjustable length of pull. Now, I believe the standard length of pull is 13.5 inches, though it comes with 2 1/4-inch spacers, so you can stretch that all the way out to 14 inches, again, depending on your body type. Now, for me, I'm a little bit shorter, so I keep it as short as it can be. The adjustable comb height, if you're using an optic, which we are on this, because it does, of course, include a Picatinny rail, which we'll talk about in just a second. So it comes with a lower height, and then this, which is about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch higher. So if you're using either a low mount or like an absolute co-witness mount, like a taller mount or so, you can totally still make do with that and still have a decent chin weld or cheek weld, versus having a chin weld if you have the lower spacer in. Now, the main reason that I was interested in picking up and checking out this shotgun is the fact that it does come standard with a Picatinny rail on top, which means that for me, it adds a lot of versatility in terms of optics, because that means that not only can I test a shotgun while I'm shooting, but I can also review an optic that is on said shotgun, which again kind of doubles its versatility for me as a gun reviewer. Also, of course, having optics are nice. Red dots are very nice to use, and you can use basically whatever you want. I used it with an EOTech and a Sig Romeo 7, all of which performed just fine. But on top of that, it comes standard with your very nice ghost ring sights. I think people are kind of half and half on ghost ring sights, whether they're too slow versus a bead sight or they're more precise. For me personally, I like ghost ring sights. I think they're a cool feature. I think bead sights are just fine as well, especially if you're just doing more close, like really fast stuff. I think a bead sight is going to be perfectly fine for 99% of people. However, ghost ring sights for some people are nice. And me personally, I am one of those people who like to see ghost ring sights. Sure, they are probably a little bit slower, but for most people not running 3-gun matches, and you're probably still not going to be running 3-gun matches with this pump action shotgun, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Now, a couple things that the Extreme Defender does come with, but are not currently on this shotgun, are it actually has an attachable piece up front that has a Picatinny rail section, which for a home defense shotgun is very important, because if you're planning on defending your home, you probably want to have some sort of light attached to it, since you're most likely going to be doing that at night. So for me, having a Picatinny rail section up front, again, currently not on there because it's not set up for home defense currently, although it totally could be very quickly, I would definitely have some sort of push button light here on the side so I could actuate it, so that, you know, if you needed to respond to something during the night, you would have something to be able to identify your targets. The other piece that is not currently attached is it actually does come with a heat shield. Didn't really need to have it on. It does look cool in photos, but for functional use, it really doesn't help me out all that much, and just adds about 6 ounces on the top of the gun. Now, from the factory, the overall length on the Extreme Defender is 38.75 inches, I want to say. Then, of course, you can make it about a 1/2 inch longer out the back. And now with the +3 extension on here, you're looking at an overall length of about 42 inches. So it's not crazy long for a shotgun, but definitely when we're considering other firearms, you know, other semi-automatic rifles and handguns, SBRs, that sort of things, it is still a long gun, though again, for a shotgun, it's kind of middle of the road, nothing really special in that regard. Now, the weight on the shotgun from the factory is only 7 pounds from the factory, though again, that's with nothing on it and unloaded. When you fully load this guy, especially with the +3 extension, which adds some weight as well, plus an optic on top, plus 7 rounds on top, so you're talking about like, you know, 16, 17 rounds at that point on your shotgun, you're looking at much closer to 10 pounds overall. Now, that being said, we are talking about a pump action shotgun with a muzzle device that probably does a little bit in terms of recoil reduction, and it shoots fairly soft. Now, in the review process of the shotgun, we shot, I want to say 70% buckshot, double-aught buckshot. I believe we were using Rio buckshot. And then we also had some Sterling 2 3/4 inch birdshot that we were mixing in as well. Overall, basically everything that we fired through it felt nice. You could definitely tell that buckshot was a lot stiffer than the birdshot. Overall, a couple hundred rounds in a range session, and I really didn't have any sort of lingering effects whatsoever. Especially when it's fully loaded, it's going to be a very smooth, very soft shooter, again, for a 12 gauge shotgun. The only issues that I had with it whatsoever were a couple personal issues or user errors, basically, where I would short stroke just a little bit and not quite get it all in here. I'll see if I can induce it. Yeah, you go back not quite all the way to get that shell on the shell elevator, and then not quite using enough force to get it back into battery. Now, talking about the trigger on the shotgun for just a minute, the trigger is actually not bad. So it is almost, kind of feels like a 2-stage, because you kind of have this really light take up, maybe a couple pounds, and then you hit a very hard to find wall. And then it's a little bit of a rolling break, and then it breaks. So it probably breaks at about 5 pounds total. So not too bad overall. So you have, again, kind of that 1/4 inch or so of take up, probably a little bit less than that. You hit a very hard wall, and then there's a soft rolling break at, again, maybe 5 pounds total. So overall, the trigger is very good. If you did want to use this for hunting using slugs at, say, 50, 75, 100 yards, the trigger's not bad. It's definitely not a match trigger by any means. If I had to compare it to something, I would say it feels good, like a good mil-spec AR-15 trigger. It's fairly light, it's fairly crisp. It does have kind of a long rolling break, if that makes sense, but overall it's light enough that it's not that bad. So again, what you're looking at here, again, not with everything else on it, but even with the +3 extension and with the STAC shell card on the side, you're really only looking at a package of a little bit over $500. And this, in this configuration, would be an excellent home defense style shotgun, or just a fun destroyer of clay targets and destroyer of trash in the woods. It is a fun gun to shoot if you like running pump shotguns, kind of like a manual in that regard. It's not necessarily the fastest thing out there, but if you get good with it and you enjoy it, you're going to have a very, very good time with it. Now, is it the fastest thing out there? Is it the softest shooting out there? Because of course, if you have a semi-automatic shotgun, some of that excess energy is going to be bled off with the actual recoil system. Well, sure, you're going to find faster things, softer shooting things, but in the world of pump action shotguns, especially budget-ish pump action shotguns, it was 100% reliable with 3 or 4 different types of ammunitions that we tested it with. And I don't really think we're done with this shotgun either, because of course you can mount optics to it. We probably will do some optic reviews on this shotgun just to test them out and see how they handle 12 gauge recoil. And maybe a little bit later on down the road, we will do a dedicated home defense setup for your 12 gauge pump shotgun. But with all of that out of the way, I do think that this is a very good pump action shotgun that comes with a lot of additional features and options that a lot of other shotguns in the same price category don't, which is one of the main reasons I was interested to check it out. Now, it's not entirely perfect, of course. I do wish the slide felt a little bit better, but that's fairly subjective and could be fixed with some skateboard tape or some stippling or something else like that to give me a little bit more grip on it. But other than that, guys, I do think it is a very good shotgun, especially if you're in the market for a pump action shotgun that can, you know, accept optics, comes with ghost ring sights, has adjustable length of pull and comb height, and of course you can always slap on a longer extension, comes with a breaching device. It has a lot of things going for it, especially when you consider that its street price is around $500. So let me know what you guys think of the shotgun in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys want to see it compared against, and maybe we'll do a comparison video in the future. But with all that being said, thank you guys once again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace off.